Good evening. My name is Jack Aquilina. I am the Secretary of the Founding Members Committee of the Academic Lodge, which is going to be one of the most exciting new lodges to be created in Freemasons Victoria. This lodge is going to be the commencement of an exciting journey towards the recruitment and retention of university students across this great state of ours. Brethren, it is my pleasure to be able to provide a presentation to you to explain what the Academic Lodge will be and to invite you to be part of this exciting journey towards consecration. As I mentioned, my name is Jack Aquilina, and I, along with a great team of people, have been working hard to really put together this exciting initiative. As you can see in front of you, the Academic Lodge Planning Committee is headed by Worshipful Brother Michael Maher, member of the Board of General Purposes, and he is our chairman and an absolute inspiration. I want to say to Michael, thank you very much for the work that you have done and for the leadership you have shown in supporting and enabling the committee to strive towards consecration. I'd also like to acknowledge Brother Mark Law, Brother Sashi Samugarthas, Brother Reese Watson, and Brother Samuel Morgan, who form part of the founding committee and have been working tirelessly to see this vision get off the ground. And brethren, this presentation, this concept, and this exciting new journey would not be possible if it was not for these brethren, with whom I have the privilege of obviously giving all the credit they deserve. Brethren, I'm going to be talking to you about firstly what this lodge will not be, and then we'll talk about what the lodge is going to be. But it is important, as with all things, to set the scope of what you're trying to do. Brethren, this lodge is not going to be a Masonic research lodge. If you want to get involved in Masonic research or research papers relating to Freemasonry, then get involved in the Victorian Lodge of Research, a fantastic lodge which is dedicated to the academic inquiry of Masonic studies. This lodge is going to be much more than Masonic research. In fact, some might say, we're going back to the foundations of what Freemasonry was about, which is understanding the world around us, which we'll speak a little bit more about later on. This lodge will also not be a lodge that practices the 3 degrees in Freemasonry. We're not going to be keeping up the degree factory, brethren. If you want to join a lodge that does constant degree work, then this lodge is not for you. But as you'll see, this lodge will be an exciting place for learning and development, rather than the practice of degree Freemasonry, which is obviously the purview of conventional and standard lodges, which make up a vast majority of our constitution. Now, in its early years, this lodge will not be a place for candidates, but I don't want you to take that completely out of your mind. As you'll find later on, this lodge is going to play an important role in the recruitment and retention of the university students that will join our organisation as a consequence of our engagement with the academic community. But this particular lodge, the Academic Lodge as it currently is proposed to be, will not be a lodge that people can call their mother lodge, because we will not be initiating candidates. But let's get back into what the lodge is about. So brethren, firstly, what is our vision in setting up this new initiative? Well, our mission statement tries to encapsulate the vision of the lodge, and we think it's important to have a vision that is clear, that is concise, but at the same time encapsulates the sort of things that we wish to achieve. A strong mission statement can be the difference between success and failure, and we really do hope that this mission statement makes clear to you of what this lodge is going to be. So, let's look at mission statement number 1. This lodge will bring together men and Freemasons of experience and achievement in academia, business, and the community for the purpose of the further exploration and cultivation of these character traits and skills through the context of Freemasonry. Brethren, as you would have seen, it isn't a typographical error, but we do have academia, business, and the community, because we recognise that in today's society, whilst participation in university culture and degrees is a commonality, that in previous generations, people would take on skills, careers, employment, work, and opportunities that would require today significant academic achievement, which did not require that standard in the past. Therefore, we recognise that members of this lodge will not only just be people undertaking or having completed degrees, but people with the equivalent like experience and skill and interest in academia, which will ultimately enable them to be valid contributors to the lodge. But we'll get back to more about what it takes to be a member in a moment. Let's get to mission statement number 2. Our mission statement number 2 is to provide that this lodge will provide a unique Masonic experience that will be focused on the delivery of outstanding and intellectually stimulated learning, discussion and practices in a modern and innovative manner. I think that speaks for itself, brethren. This lodge is going to be a place that is buzzing with intellectual stimulation and discussion about the world that we live in. Let's move on. Mission statement number 3. This lodge will model the excellences and virtues of higher education as an institution through the context of Freemasonry and its practices. So as you can see, aside from the fact that we'll be pursuing higher learning and bringing together like-minded people who are from that and of that environment and ilk, we will also be, as a lodge, embodying the culture and vision and virtues of the great institution that higher education is. Let's face it, going to university and universities as an institution is more than simply a place of learning. It's a place of culture, of experience, of character development. They embody certain virtues like truth and learning and inquiry, critical thinking. These sorts of things are going to form the ethos and culture of an academic lodge that will embrace the virtues and excellences of higher education as an institution. Mission statement number 4. This lodge will build and foster strong relationships with universities, their staff and students, so as to embed Freemasonry into the cultural experience of University in Victoria and provide an opportunity for university communities to participate in Masonic practices and theory. Brethren, regardless of what we've tried to do in the past or what has worked maybe 100 years ago, for a very long time, our organisation has had no bridge to local universities. There is no effective example in Victoria of lodges that are actively and embedded and respected part of the academic and university culture. This lodge is going to be the conduit. We are going to be the standard bearers for Freemasonry in the modern age and embedding that into the culture of universities. Freemasonry as an institution, as a craft of inquiry, will become synonymous with universities, which, no doubt, will have an important impact on our achievement of our vision. So, keep that in mind. This lodge is primarily, amongst all the other things, focused on embedding Freemasonry as a brand, as a fraternity, and as a concept into modern universities, and I believe we will be able to do that. Moving on, mission statement number 5. This lodge will provide a unique Masonic experience where men of all academic disciplines can celebrate high learning and self-development and contribute to each member's ongoing attainment of continued learning. All this really emphasises the fact that this lodge is going to be collegiate. It's going to be a peer-to-peer group sort of mentoring and learning environment. We're going to be feeding off each other, and it's going to be a room full of like-minded and academically and suitably qualified brethren who will be working together towards the attainment of further learning and development. A very worthy cause and something that I'm sure will be very exciting for its members. And mission statement 6. This lodge is going to provide a high quality and engaging dining and lodge social or extracurricular experience fitting for the cultivation of the lodge's mission, its aims and its members. And as you'll see, brethren, this lodge is going to be more than simply a lodge that meets once a month or twice a year or whatever it may be. This will be a lodge that does more than simply meet in the lodge room, and I'm excited to tell you more about that. Now that you know our vision, how do we turn this vision into reality? That's the question. So let's start with how we're going to implement our vision, and that first starts with knowing who is going to be members. Now, brethren, in a lodge, its harmony, its success, its development, and ongoing capacity to be relevant is much dependent on the quality of its members. Bringing like-minded men together and people within a lodge environment is something that is so fundamentally important to ensuring the longevity of a successful lodge and a culture. Now, I hear you saying, this may be somewhat exclusive, or this may be somewhat discriminatory, but brethren, don't shy into the abyss of negativity, but rather focus on the reality. This is not something new. There have been in Victoria and many jurisdictions for a very long time lodges that have been formed around a commonality of members and their interests. For example, in Victoria, we've had lodges that have been entirely dedicated to working members of the civil service. We've had lodges that have been entirely dedicated to the niche field of aerospace engineers and mechanics. We've had lodges that have been dedicated particularly to enterprising small business people, and lodges, etc., that have been formed around commonality of interest. Now, this isn't a strange concept. It's actually a very smart one. For a lodge that isn't claiming to be a primary lodge of recruitment, but rather a second lodge, a tailored Masonic experience, a second Masonic experience, a refined Masonic experience in addition to a member's mother lodge, there is nothing wrong with having the requirements we have. And, as you'll see, they're there for a good reason. Now, in order to become a member of this lodge, you must satisfy any of the following. You must be either undertaking or have completed an undergraduate or postgraduate degree or diploma, and I highlight diploma, from a recognised Australian university or any other institution compliant with the Australian Qualifications Framework criteria. Now, as you can see, that's pretty broad. You don't just have to be a university graduate. You can also have received a diploma from a recognised Australian institution or university that is compliant with the Australian Qualifications Framework. So, already, first out the gates, it's a broad test. So, you don't have a degree, you don't have a diploma, you don't have a postgraduate degree. What do you do next? Well, number 2, if you don't have any of those things, you're eligible for membership if you've obtained a recognised qualification from an Australian or international military academy. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, and speaking to brethren as well who have been involved in the forces, usually there are mass amounts of qualifications that are academic in nature that can be attained by people engaged in military service that aren't recognised in the civilian world. Well, we're recognising them. So if you do have a recognised qualification from an Australian or international military academy, then we want you to be a member. So straight out the gates, got a broad test at number 1 and an even broader test at number 2. So you don't satisfy any of those. What about number 3? Now, if you're a member of staff of Australian University, regardless of your qualifications, you'll be eligible as a member of this lodge. That is because we want to embed ourselves in the academic community, and by being a member of staff, you'll enable us to do that. And also, you'll bring with you the culture of universities to the lodge experience, which is something that we're welcoming. Okay, so you don't have a degree, you don't have an international or Australian military academy qualification, you're not a member of staff of Australian University. So what about number 4? Well, as it clearly says on the screen, if the lodge determines that you satisfy the life experience exception, we will make you a member. So, I hear you asking, what is the life experience exception? In lieu of formal academic qualifications, as an exception, we do recognise the substantial skill and merit that attaches to a lifetime of experience in professional vocations industry. Therefore, applicants for membership who can demonstrate skills based on substantial life experience, particularly in fields that today would require the attainment of formal qualifications, will be eligible for membership. So, brethren, although we've already got a broad test, we've just broadened it further. Because we recognise, as I said at the very start of this presentation, that life is more than simply gaining a university degree. Your experience as an entrepreneur, creating businesses, developing structures, managing people, innovating, and making a success out of your ideas is just as important as gaining a university qualification. Your lifetime experience working in industry is also just as important, where you may be a member of professional bodies and have qualifications from professional bodies, like, for example, the Australian Mediators Association, or the Institute of Company Directors of Australia, or the Clerks Association, or the Secretaries Association. These things are just as important. So, if you are a member and you have a long-standing professional vocation experience in life and industry, then we want you to be a member of this lodge, because you have demonstrated that you have the type of thinking, cultural exposure, and things to offer, brain and knowledge to offer, to really make the lodge experience a worthwhile one. So that is our life experience exception. And I think, considering the fact that we're trying to bring like-minded people together, we have a very broad test, and I'm sure it will capture a lot of interested and worthy brethren. Now, let's talk about some basic facts of what this lodge will look like. Fact number 1. This lodge is going to be a great second lodge. Just to re-emphasise, this lodge is not intended to be a mother lodge. We'll get to that later in terms of what our long-term goals are. But at the beginning, when this lodge is consecrated, this will be a great second lodge that will meet 6 times a year, which includes the installation. Now, our lodge meetings and events will be focused on discussions, forums, and activities that relate to academia, higher learning, and entrepreneurship. We want our meetings to be the true practice of the liberal arts and sciences. If you've started a business from scratch and innovated, we want to hear your stories. We want to hear your success. We want to hear your examples and ideas of leadership and management. Are you an expert in a field or practice in an area that is quite substantially important in today's society? We want to hear your vision and ideas and learn from your shared experiences. We want to bring people together and have our lodge meetings that are engaging, challenging, and stimulating. In the days of old, when members such as Isaac Newton were members of Freemasonry, when they came to lodge, they spoke about the great questions of life. Not necessarily Freemasonry, but life. Because they saw the inquiry about our world around us and our place in it as being an essential fulfillment of our obligations as Freemasons who tend to move towards wisdom and truth, away from ignorance and lies, and this lodge is going to be an example of the practice of that old tradition. Now, we're also going to be, this lodge, a basic fact about this lodge, is it's going to be an example of an integration into the culture and community of Australian universities. So we're going to get involved in university events. We'll be at O Week, we'll be on campus, we'll be represented at major university events, we'll be contributing, sponsoring, and involved where we can. A great example of this fact being established already is something that Academic Lodge is already doing with universities across Victoria. The Academic Lodge, in conjunction with the Wesley Collegians Lodge, the Lodge of the Golden Fleece, the Blue Lounge Social Club, and Freemasons Victoria, is sponsoring and supporting the creation of the first inaugural Freemasons Victoria Moot. Now, a moot is a mock court exercise, and what we've done, working very closely with our partners, is to engage law student societies across every major university in Victoria and bring together a fantastic experience for them to moot or practice a mock court trial in front of real judges of the Supreme Court, County Court, and Magistrates Court in a grand final that will include prize money and will be an absolute buzz in the academic community. This is an example of the sort of events that we'll be running and participating in to engage ourselves into the mind, culture, and practice of university students, which can only be positive, not only for the lodge, but Freemasonry in general. So that's a good example of fact number 3 in action. Fact number 4. This lodge will see the establishment of unique and rich traditions and experience that provide an exciting and innovative modern Masonic experience. Brethren, when you walk into the lodge, at this lodge, we want to be able to see the look on your face being one of pride, of happiness, and of something new. We want you to walk in and think, wow, isn't this awesome? So, we're going to create some traditions that are going to really help you shape that view. For example, the idea of wearing academic regalia and incorporating that into the lodge sort of practice. Could you imagine walking into a room and seeing Freemasons in their Masonic regalia with their dinner suits or lounge suits with academic regalia on? Could you imagine brethren being introduced to the master, not only by their rank in Masonic terms, but their qualifications? Can you imagine the incredible opportunity that we presented to us on university campuses by being able to host an installation amongst the sandstone buildings of the old arts building at Melbourne University? Brethren, this is going to be a unique and fun and exciting new way to practice the ancient landmarks without abrogating them, but emphasising them through the prism of what will be a university's lodge. A fantastic, new and exciting and differential Masonic experience. And we're very proud of the vision, and we can't wait to work with you to make it a reality. Also, and this is also a very important fact, this lodge, the creation and consecration of this lodge, will see the creation and establishment of Australia's first integrated Masonic university scheme, which will see a network of lodges being formed within Victoria's university. And this really taps into our long-term vision and allow me to talk to you about that in a moment. So, as I've already alluded, where are we going to meet? Well, here's a program that we're proposing. 6 times a year, including the installation, this is what a typical year could look like. Meeting at Melbourne University for the installation, Monash University for a general meeting and debate or discussion, La Trobe University in Bundoora for another meeting, RMIT University in the City campus for another meeting, Swinburne University, which is either in Hawthorn or Prahran, Deakin University, including its Geelong campus, could provide an opportunity for us to travel and experience the modern sort of campus that Deakin would provide, and Victoria University with its old buildings and heritage-listed facilities in the city. Imagine that. 5 or 6 fantastic meetings in fantastic heritage-listed, modern in some respects, and exciting locations. This is going to be a lodge that you'll be proud to be a member of. Now, as I said, this lodge is going to do more than simply lodge meetings. The core of this lodge's purpose will be to engage its members through participation in events and presentations made available by the academic community. This will mean that your membership will enable you to have the opportunity to learn and develop your intellectual interests in the following ways. Firstly, by attending networking, academic, business, professional, and leadership events or seminars as directed by the lodge executive. 2. By attending university events or seminars, especially to foster an active presence in university orientation weeks and associated events. And ideas and initiatives such as hosting an annual lecture from an accomplished individual, and things like the Freemasons Victoria mooting competition and any other activity that advances or achieves the aims and missions of the lodge. Brethren, this is something we've been doing already. With the founding members that have already expressed an interest, we've been attending the Australian Institute of International Affairs events in Jolimont, which has been a fantastic experience. Not Masonic at all, as you could say. In fact, it's the practice of the liberal arts and sciences. Thanks to Michael Maher and his leadership, we've been getting along to the Australian Institute of International Affairs speakers events to listen to internationally renowned speakers speak about some of the most interesting topics of international affairs. Followed up, casual event, dressing casual, going to a great speech, going up for a few drinks and nibbles and dinner afterwards to have even more quality conversation among members, which has always been cordial and stimulating, has been just as interesting. So this is an example of the sort of things we do, and I think this is a key message about this lodge. Become a founding member of the Academic Lodge, and you'll find that this is a lodge that does much more than lodge meetings, and it will be a highlight of your Masonic experience. Now, as I've already said, we're going to have traditions that set us apart. I've already mentioned the academic regalia, but also we're going to have a situation where we have a travelling warrant, which means we can meet in different locations and engage with as many different people as possible. And as this slide says, I know this will create an experience that you'll be proud of. So please, if you have any ideas about how we can also enhance the traditions of the lodge that will set us apart, shoot those ideas through. But I can't wait to work with you to see these ideas come to fruition. Now, we've talked about its vision, we've talked about what that vision looks like in practice and reality, and now let's talk about why the Academic Lodge is going to be essential to lay the foundations for Freemasons Victoria's first Masonic University scheme. Now, brethren, before we get stuck into this structure, I want to mention and allude to the university scheme as it exists in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, the United Grand Lodge of England, is one of the few jurisdictions that is actually experiencing net positive growth. And we are so excited that now in Victoria, thanks to the support of senior members including the Grand Master, Most Worshipful Brother Keith Murray, and members of the Board of General Purposes, along, more importantly, with you, the grassroots founding member, we are going to be able to set the stones in place to create Victoria's first university scheme. And this is what it looks like. The Academic Lodge, which you can see, the triangle, the pinnacle at the top, is going to be the top of a university scheme that's going to incorporate, we hope, lodges in every university. This is going to put together a unique, robust, exciting, and energized network of lodges that are going to be integrated into the university life and see Freemasonry's banner flown so proudly in academic institutions across the state. These lodges that are formed at these universities will be initiatory lodges that will take on members and run a unique Masonic experience, but more blended with what the traditional lodge system is currently doing. And sitting above it, the standard bearer, the pinnacle of this structure, will be this lodge, the Academic Lodge, which you are becoming a part of by becoming a founding member. So, by becoming a member of the founding Academic Lodge, you are setting yourself up to be part of an exciting journey that will see the creation of at least 3 to 4 other lodges over a period of time, which will see the integration of a university scheme on Freemasons Victoria's behalf, and that will be exciting for the recruitment of university students. And naturally, because we're heading down that path, once the universities have their individual lodges, naturally they will be the beneficiaries of more undergraduate and undertaking studies type of students, and the Academic Lodge being a focus for postgraduate students or people who have graduated from those university careers and wish to affiliate to the Academic Lodge as a broader second lodge rather than simply their own lodges in isolation. But, as I emphasise and the slide says, this is simply an overview of our long-term scheme. As exciting it is, it's important to know what we're going to do between now and then. And that's what this lodge is going to do. As you can see here, this is going to be a funnel structure. Whilst the Academic Lodge will not be initiating, passing or raising candidates, we will be intimately engaged in university life. It is our role to set the cultural standards, build those bridges, and build the relationships with universities necessary to make those future lodges, university-based lodges, a reality. In order to do that, we need to engage. Now, naturally, as we become more and more integrated for our activities, our fun activities engaging in university life, people are going to notice and they're going to want to join Freemasonry. So, what do we do with those candidates? Do we simply just send them to Grand Lodge to be dispersed? Well, no. We want to work with partners like our friends at the Francis Ormond University Lodge, a great lodge that is a custodian of previous university lodges in our past, and be able to send them candidates from universities so that they can also benefit from the Masonic experience. Brethren, we don't want to take away from anyone the traditional lodge experience. You know, the lodges where we rock up at 6:30 or 7:30, participate in degree activity, get into the south afterwards, do the raffle, and participate in the usual custodianship of the craft as it's practiced in Victoria. We want the Academic Lodge network to be a place that funnels people from universities into ordinary lodges that have an appropriate standard of ritual and culture. While we're doing this, we'll be establishing the Academic Lodge and heading towards that longer term structure where we won't need to funnel anymore, and that the university lodges will be the ultimate beneficiaries. But between now and then, we are looking for lodges who wish to become part of the Academic Lodge affiliate network to benefit from the work that we're going to be doing and the fun we're going to be having in engaging universities. So, brethren, that's our medium-term structure. And this evening, I've been able to give you a vision, a practical implementation of that vision, and now our long-term and medium-term strategy. And now I hope you can see where this exciting, innovative, fun, and new lodge will fit into your Masonic experience and, with your support, the Masonic experiences of a brand new and energised network of university lodges across Victoria. So I thank you for your time in listening. We look forward to now receiving some of your questions and providing you the best answers we can and really working with you to make this lodge a reality. So thank you very much for your time.
I'll invite Michael up and maybe we can answer some questions. And Paul, if there are online questions, feel free to feed them through to me, or I don't know if I'll be able to hear them, but we'll do our best to answer them as well as we can. So, Michael, just add any remarks, of course?
Thank you, Jack, for putting together a presentation which outlined in such minutiae a lot of what we're aiming for. We are receiving a lot of questions around where are we meeting? What is the criteria to become a member? How many times will we meet? So a lot of that was covered. So thank you very much for that. With your current employment, I know that your form of freedom has shrunk somewhat.
That's true. That's true.
So, brethren, are there any questions that Jack's presentation didn't handle, or anything else that you have questions on?
Yes.
You missed Swinburne there.
Yeah, well, like I said, because we could only stack them so high on the slide before they went off the slide. So let's just assume, and we always put the best university there. No offense, but let's just assume every university is there.
I'm just kidding.
I didn't you put ACU anywhere either. Sorry if you went to ACU. Any question? Any other question? Any questions online? We've got a few people on there, but looks good.
Yeah, but a few people. Barry Minster asked petitioner list, question mark.
So just to answer that question, because I think we last looked at the petitioner list a couple of days ago, we have around about 52 applicants, which is fantastic. So we have a solid foundation.
Very healthy group.
Very healthy group of people, and good group of people, I must say.
Wide variety of ages, qualifications, life experience, and Masonic experience as well. Because it's very important when you set up a new lodge that you have the past masters who actually know what they're doing in running a lodge, as well as the young ones coming through. You need the equilibrium of both to have a successful lodge. So it's a really good list.
We've got a great list, and you know, people should, if you want to join, obviously it's not too late to put your name down. So fill out the form. It's on Facebook and send it to us, because we'd love to get more good people on that list. Any other questions?
There was a follow-up. He says, my experience tells me that around 25% of interest will drop off prior to day one.
Well, it's good that we've got a high number of people who are interested from the outset, I suppose. So even if we lose 25%, I suppose we'll be in a fantastic position with still a great diverse group of people to make this lodge a reality. And we're positive it's only going to grow from here. So.
Very much so. Any other questions, brother?
Comments, questions? You guys are here, so you can comment, I suppose.
Well, if I do you want our names first?
Yeah, introduce yourself. So,
Okay, Ange Kenos. As a comment to someone with an academic background, I've studied in a number of universities and have a lot of pieces of paper, initials after my name, and I've been a teacher at uni. This is great. This does offer a lot of young men an option for something that maybe they aren't happy with being in the Doctor Who club or the political party club or the chocolate society. And this gives them something.
I'm really curious where you went to school. I missed out on the chocolate society.
University of Melbourne.
we've got a Quidditch club now at the university.
But the point is, we are offering with this a real opportunity to get at something that a lot of young men do want. You go to university partly to have fun, but you also want to learn. And this is now broadening the learning experience in a very positive manner. And for those who do, and I admit I was one, go into university a little bit immature, it's going to help us grow and develop as men. So I herald this as an absolutely fantastic idea.
You've reminded me of something, Ange, which wasn't covered in here, but just referred to. As this is an academic lodge, where the aim is to meet on the campus of university, so a lot of what we're going after is the undergraduates, not so much graduate students. We know that money is tight. You're living away from home frequently, you're studying, you only have a part-time job. So the aim of this lodge, it is not going to be an expensive dining lodge or that kind of thing. It is meant to be affordable. It is about the experience. So very much the fee structure is aimed towards that. But also part of that is that every year we will have a formal function that will be that $100 ticket that you need to bring a partner to. I remember when I went through Duntroon, we had dining in functions and you had to bring a partner, because as a young man or as a young woman, you had to learn how to go out, get a partner and say, there's a function coming, please come as my guest. It's black tie. I've got to scrub up. I've got to shave properly and get sorted to do it. As Anne just pointed out, that is a rite of passage that you've got to learn to get out of your genes. In another world, I'm setting up an innovation table and we have entrepreneurs who are coming and say, man, I never wear a suit, or I definitely never wear a tie. And you go, when you're doing capital raising, young one, you will be putting on a suit, because otherwise they won't give you the money. It is a rite of passage that we all go through. So the average meetings, the fee structure will be for targeting younger people, therefore it won't be expensive, but it will have those things in it that are very much about character building that we all go through.
And just to point something out on the slide, and Michael makes a great point, this is where the great flexibility of this structure comes into play, because down the track when we do have the capacity and momentum to have lodges that may be affiliated with universities, then the structure can change a little. That can be the more affordable option. And maybe when the Academic Lodge becomes maybe a lodge that's focused mainly on postgraduate people who aren't attending universities, it can take on that more, sort of what we say expensive form. But we're talking many years down the track. So it's an exciting opportunity to realise that this structure has so much potential and has so much opportunity to really deliver some of the things that Michael's talking about over time in different ways. And that's something lodges struggle with today, to be honest with you. Flexibility. The meeting night becomes a problem because, once upon a time all the members could meet on Tuesday nights. Now they can't meet on Tuesday night. We're really lucky we can start fresh. We can set our tone. We can, from the start, say this is going to be something that's going to grow over time with its membership. And it gives us an awesome opportunity to do things we haven't been able to do today.
There's been a theme over the last 12 months in Freemasonry Victoria about giving the power back to the lodges to be self-determination in many of these areas, rather than going, here is our rules that we must stick within. It's what else can we do? So this lodge is being set up to do that. And as the Grand Master said at his grand installation, the aim is to change the world, one man at a time.
And what better place to start than universities, a place of free thought and enlightenment. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity.
Do you have an online
Got a
question?
question? Yes.
What do you anticipate your fees?
That's a good question. Look, it's hard. It's hard at this point in time to really sort of build in a fee structure because we're at a point now where we need to sell the concept. We need this concept to be accepted by the membership. We need you guys to come on board. But what Michael said has been very, very clear and very important. We guarantee you that we're going to make this lodge high in experience, as low in cost as we can without compromising quality, and ensuring it is a marketplace that's going to be marketable for university students. So if you take those principles and translate them into a rough idea of what the costs are going to be, you'll probably find that it's going to be reasonably affordable. Do you want to add anything to that, Michael?
Two things. Firstly, as the presentation showed, this is meant to be a second lodge. This is not going to give you the Masonic experience for many people of what 11 nights a month inside a Masonic hall does. It'll be slightly different. So this is a great second lodge for those of us who are we're joining members. This is different for the candidates. And as the Australian Institute of International Affairs, where some of the current presentations we're going to, the membership, the attendance fee is $20. And if you're a student, it's $15. And it's a fantastic speaker. Most of them are an ambassador or a diplomat or a journalist who's covered some of these international events for $15. Seriously, we do go looking for things that are affordable within this current group.
Yeah, and like use the example of the University of Melbourne, the law school. I mean, for the lecture that's coming up that I was mentioning in August, they're free. It's just got to book it in time. So we plan these things enough. There are many opportunities out there that aren't necessarily expensive. So think about that formula. Rich on experience, affordable on costs. That's going to be the principles that guide the financial structure of this lodge.
Another question.
Is this more specific? Is this more of a specialty lodge than an actual lodge? I think they're referring to. What are the qualifications you might need to be able to join this lodge?
Well,
I know you've already ran through.
So in terms of, I'm trying to answer the question as broadly as possible because we might be misinterpreting, but this is a second lodge, so it's going to be a specific Masonic experience you're going to be getting here. It's not going to be, like we said, we don't want people coming off the street and joining this lodge because they're not going to get the 1, 2, 3 step, the degrees, the things that make Freemasonry great in a normal conventional sense. This is going to be a specialty lodge in the sense that you'll be joining it because you want a specific Masonic experience.
Another question.
Yep.
This is from Darren Poignan. We have you got a short-term to medium-term plan to attract members?
In terms of lodge membership for this particular lodge, or are we talking university students coming into Freemasonry?
Doesn't specify.
Okay, well, I'll answer both questions. In terms of lodge membership,
This lodge.
so this lodge has 50 people on the books who are ready to go. You need 7 to form a lodge. We're going to continue doing things like this, having these forums and having this recording going out there in the public. We're going to continue pushing the message because we really think it's a great idea. I know you think it's a great idea. And we will get to a point. And I'll show you this because I've put in an anticipated timeline of what I would like to see. And this isn't in concrete, brethren. This is just a rough estimate. So Tonight, it's the 20th of April. We've had our first founders meeting, which is great. I'd like some social events happening between the 1st of May and June. It's pretty easy to do. We did one already. We've had a couple really successful ones, and we can do that. That's really achievable. Next, we want to get the details done, the paperwork done, the compliance done. We want to talk to the Board of General Purposes and get our pre-approval, because that's a big hurdle. And you know, Michael, because you're on the board, that's an important step. And then we have to build towards that. And between now and July is when I want to start getting this done. We've got a lot of detail to work out, but we've got the right sort of steps. Now, say we get that pre-approval. I want to get our founding petitioners, our founding members, everything done by at least September. Now, this might be a bit, we might bring this forward. This might happen sooner rather than later, but say we stick to this rough timeline. I anticipate by September, and remember, we've only been on Facebook for less than a month, and we've had 50 applications. There's 50 physical pieces of paper people filled out and emailed to us. You know how hard it is to get Freemasons to email things to you? That's why I think this has got a lot of momentum. And then we get to a final stage where we get board approval and consecration. That's down the track. But we don't want to rush it. We want to do this properly because we want it to work.
So we're all young.
Exactly right.
We have the luxury of time.
So I don't know if you want to add something to that, but I think that's our medium to...
No, I think that's... To have a timeline that we're aiming for, if we have to move a bit faster or move a bit slower on any of the points, it doesn't really matter. But at least it gives us all a ballpark that we're moving with.
Something to work towards. Yep.
There's another one. I'll read the full comment.
Yep.
It says, I'm fully supportive of this and think it's a great idea. Is there any concern there might be a negative perception due to the fact that only men can be members within the university context?
Let me say this, because I think this is something we need to tackle on as an organisation, and I know Mike will be able to say more from an official point of view because he's on the board, I'm not. But let's put it this way, brethren. We are a fraternity of men. We should be proud of the fact that we're a fraternity of men. We should be willing to engage society on that basis, and we should not resign from the fact that we are a fraternity of men. So putting that to one side, that principle. We are going to face challenges in universities and in contemporary culture when it comes to justifying a fraternity today. There's no doubt about that. But those challenges aren't impossible to overcome, because guess what? In a modern society where women have rightly treated on the same plane as men, we have a big duty to ensure we justify existence as a utilitarian benefit for them and society as much as it is for men. Having good men in society benefits women, it benefits society. And we have to make that case, because if we don't make that case and we resign away or shy away from who we are, we're not going to get any traction with any lodge, with any initiative. So my point of view is, we acknowledge the challenge. It's going to be one we have to overcome. We have to handle it sensitively. We have to be smart. We have to be strategic. We have to work with Freemasons Victoria to ensure we get the right message and the right branding, the right approach. But we can do it, and we should not resign away from the fact that we are who we are, and be proud of it and embrace it and take a strong message forward. That's my view. But Michael, do you want to...
A few comments in response. In 2009, the Attorney General of Victoria, Robert Hull, I think we're coming up for an election. He actually had, as part of his campaign about getting rid of single-sex organisations, that they're archaic, from a bygone era. And he said, Christine Nixon, you should join that organisation. Or Quinton Bryce, you should join that organisation. And they said, you're an idiot. There is a time to be co-gender, there's a time to be single-sex. With the amount of things that are happening in the press these days about teaching young men to be manners around women, just as one example, you can't do that in a mixed room. There are certain things where you need an old man who knocks a younger one over the back of the head and says, we don't do that. And conversely, for women as well, there are things that only an older woman can teach a younger woman. That is our society. I think it is important. So anyway, that challenge that Robert Hull put up with, a bipartisan committee of 3 Labor and 3 Liberals put together, and they came back and said that the right to choose where you spend your time and who you spend your time with, it trumps equality, because we choose to spend our time together. So that's from a formal point of view. On a university campus, I think it is important to get across that this is not a fraternity about drinking alcohol or chugging beer or getting the girls in the frat house or something like this. It is about teaching young men to become leaders in society. to stand up and be the type of men that I hope these women will be choosing as a general rule as partners. It is those type of things. So it is a fraternity in one sense, but it's certainly not the American campus view.
We're going to do what people say American fraternities do, which is provide a rite of passage, except our rite of passage is going to be founded on those Masonic principles that we love, and I think are more relevant now than they've ever been.
Very much so.
Yes.
Another question from Darren. Have you approached the universities already about this plan?
Yes.
Tentatively, yeah, we have. And you know what, I have to say, we actually have in the room Sashi, who is an employee of one of the universities, and the response has already been overwhelmingly positive. Freemasons Victoria, in conjunction with the foundation, have incredible relationships with the academic community, incredible relationships, and they're only going to get stronger, and I can't see any obstacles to engage.
The relationships we already have, like with Melbourne University, Reece Watson, who sits on the committee with us, he's the chair of Graduate Union. We work with ISANA, the International Students Association Network of Australia, which is across all the universities. Sashi, of course, is at Swinburne University. The director of entrepreneurship, the School of Entrepreneurship at Swinburne University is on board with this.
Yep.
There is, at each university, we found people who go, what a brilliant idea, we want to be involved.
And to mention, Darren is a person who works in academia. With your help, Darren, and with people like you and Freemasons who already are part of the institutional culture of universities, we can make this a reality. And I don't think that's going to be quite an exciting part of what we do, engaging.
Yep, very much so.
Yes, indeed. Comment from Darren.
Thanks, Darren. Any other questions? Yeah, online people are pretty active. Anyone else in the room got anything you want to say?
Just a comment, Jack.
Introduce yourself, yeah.
Robert Billing.
Yep.
This is a really fantastic idea that I'm really eager to get behind, Jack. The focus on education, and too often when education comes up in Freemasonry circles, everyone assumes you're talking about Masonic education. And I think this is great that we're looking external, and that we can pursue those hidden mysteries of nature and science through this type of lodge. That instead of looking back at our past, that we can look forward and look at current learnings and get up to speed. I've attended two of the events that Michael's organised at the International Affairs Institute, and they were fantastic and really got people thinking, and we did have some excellent discussions afterwards. I'm very much looking forward to that going forward.
And that certainly was not a Masonic discussion. Talking about spies and satellites and the challenge between the US and China and Taiwan, geopolitics. It certainly wasn't Masonic education, but God, it was an interesting conversation just looking at the world we live in, especially with the multicultural room that is Freemasonry.
Building on that, I mean, this is more than just a lodge that's going to focus on that external education. Putting the lodge into the university, their building situation, I visited of many different universities and colleges, and the architecture, it's just so inspiring, and to be in those buildings. And I'm very much looking forward to visiting some of these universities I haven't been to before, and to talking with some of those staff members, and very much looking forward to engaging them and learning more and progressing higher learning.
Well, let me just say this quickly. I mean, this is not actually quite a radical idea. When Freemasonry was at its peak, you had things like the Royal Society, and that informed the creation of these what they call fraternal societies in the age of fraternalism. And you had people like Isaac Newton, great thinkers, who weren't going to Masonic meetings or to Masonic gatherings or talking with people about our past. They were talking about the ideas that underpinned their present moment, the present period of enlightenment. They were talking about geometry. They were talking about the nature of our place in the universe, the idea of intellectual growth and development. Isn't that what Freemasonry is about? Improving the inward man, to know thyself through knowledge, through enlightenment, through this idea of truth. You can do that through Masonic teaching, of course, but we want to broaden that and really embrace that old ethos of learning.
And so, Jack, as part of embracing that,
yes,
I think our dinner is about to arrive, and as this is a true Masonic experience, after the work, it's time to eat. So, brethren, thank you very much for attending tonight. For everyone who's joined us online, thank you very much. it's time for us to say it's Friday night and we would like to have dinner.
Exactly right. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, email us at academiclodgeuglv@gmail.com. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.